Welcome to the Happy Homebirth podcast, your source for positive natural childbirth stories and your community of support, education, and encouragement in all things homebirth and motherhood. Husbands, what can you tangibly do to support your wife during postpartum, especially during those first few critical weeks? Hey there, Happy Homebirthers, and welcome to this week's episode of the Happy Homebirth podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin Fusco, but today we have a guest host, my very own hero of a husband, Thomas Fusco. Thomas will be taking over the interview reins as he sits down with a father-to-father chat with Eric Stein, CEO of Restorative Roots, and husband to Holly Stein, last week's podcast guest. If you didn't hear my interview with Holly, make sure to click the link in the show notes and give it a listen right after this. Moms, this week's Dad Chat episode is going to be one that you will want to just go ahead and send to your spouse so that he can feel ready and prepared for the postpartum phase. Now, on an unrelated but exciting note, do you have birth photos and videos that you feel deserve to be shared with the world? I want you to send them to me. I'm collecting birth photos and videos to share on social media platforms, my website that's in the process of being rebuilt, and I want to feature your photos and videos inside of the new weekly newsletter that I will be sending out. Both mothers and birth photographers, you are welcome to submit. The link is in the show notes, and I cannot wait to share your beautiful photos and videos. Okay, let's jump in. Please remember that the opinions of my guests may not, and my husband, let's just go ahead and clear the air. Please remember that the opinions of my guests and my husband may not necessarily reflect my own and vice versa. And the show is not medical advice, it's an educational tool. So continue to take empowered responsibility for your health and your family.
Hey, Eric. Welcome to the Happy Homebirth podcast. If you want to just take a minute to introduce yourself to the listeners and introduce yourself and your family and your business.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Excited to talk to you today. Yeah. So my name's Eric Stein, and my wife Holly and I have had, we'll call it 3 home births. We did a birth center for the first one, which was pretty close to home birth, and that was 8 years ago. And then after that, we're like, well, why don't we just need to do it at home? We don't need to go anywhere. I could talk about their first experience of driving to the birth center. That would be an interesting story I'll share. But So baby number 2, we did it at home. It was great. Baby number 3, did it at home. It was awesome too. It was such a great experience through postpartum. The first one was tough. The second one, we learned a lot and did all the preparation for postpartum a lot more, especially around the food. And that's what led us to start our postpartum meal business. And then the third, we actually got to lean on all the work that we'd done building this business. And so all the food was just done. It was kind of a cool way to be on one side and then become the customer on the other side. It was cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Sweet. So kind of walk me through how you and Holly decided on home birth, or kind of your background with, maybe the more natural side of things.
Sure. When we first met, we were both on our own health journey. I struggled my whole life, like headaches, ear infections, gut issues, allergies, and a lot of doctor's visits, a lot of, seemed like it was always the answer was always some sort of prescription. They never talked to me about what I was eating or lifestyle or what I was thinking or anything like that. And I struggled. And then Holly had her own health struggles too, lots of gut issues. And when we met, we both started learning about food, and we learned about the food system and what's going on out there. And we made some switches into a more, like, I guess you could call it holistic, more ancestral approach to eating. And it just changed our lives in such a huge way. And like all these conditions that I was dealing with were just disappeared. Lost a bunch of weight, felt way better. And same for her. And so we really became passionate around food. And so that led us into trying to help people with food and just the more natural approach to life. And through that, we found the home birth idea. So like before that, it was like, oh, you go to the hospital and you have the baby, right? That's what everybody does. But we came across we were so into documentaries. I think one of the first ones was the Business of Being Born.
Yep, that's a good one.
Was a good one. And we just learned about the whole system and what was going on. And that's how it was through our food journey that led us to home birth, I guess is the the short answer to that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome that, that transition to something where you're like, well, if we are natural in this way and trying to be, doing this in an organic way, why not do birth in an organic way? So,
Yeah. And it was because it came down to term ancestral, I think is what kept coming up for me.
yeah.
And then I started looking through that lens at, all different areas of life. And then when Holly got pregnant, it was like, okay, what did our ancestors do?
Yep.
Certainly we've been doing this for a long time, right? And then you start looking at statistics about what's going on in the hospitals and all the things. It's like, oh, okay. Like, well, it was almost like a no-brainer. The hard part was our parents.
Yeah.
That's where the struggle was, when we're like telling them what we're going to do. And they're like, excuse me? So
yeah. Yeah, it is a weird phenomenon of like having to convince somebody else that it's okay what you're doing. But I mean, family's important and you want everybody on board, and I get the reprehension and people being worried about it, but I always tell people, and they're like, I can't do that. That'd kill me. I'd die if I did it at home. And it's like, how would humans be here by now if it wasn't something that you could do wherever you are, wherever you feel comfortable. So,
Yep.
So walk me through, what were your thoughts leading up to your first baby with postpartum or the newborn phase, and how you were planning on preparing for that?
Totally. Well, there was like no preparation. We did all kinds of research on birth. We ended up talking to doulas and midwives, and obviously going down this more ancestral approach to things. And even through the conversations, this is 8 years ago, through the conversations with the birth workers, there was not a lot of discussion around postpartum. It was just like, here's how to prep for the birth, all the things you got to do. And we did a lot of that. And I think we had like one meal in the freezer, like a lasagna or something like that. And so when postpartum came, it was like a rude awakening. You know what I'm saying? And one of the hardest parts was that, we had family kind of close to us, but I don't know, people they don't help a lot. I guess it's not very common in our culture for there to just be like people hanging out at your house and helping out. And it was the food thing. Like I said, we were very passionate about food. We saw the power of food. And then during postpartum, it was like, okay, so I still have to cook all the food, because it's not like you could just go out somewhere and get like an ancestrally prepared meal.
Yeah.
You can't even go out and get an organic meal, So we had to cook all the food, and that was a big struggle. And just learning all the learning that you have to do in your first postpartum was just like, it was a lot. And then going back to work and the whole thing. So it was, there was a lot of learning, and there wasn't a lot of prep for the first one.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I think probably the worst part of our first child was the fact that, Caitlin was a birth worker. She was a birth professional. She knows all about this. She'll tell me what to do. She'll tell me what I need to do and how to prepare. And that did not happen. She didn't know what I needed to be asking the questions. I needed to be finding this stuff out. And I did not prepare properly. And it did not help with the process, that's for sure, especially postpartum, etc. And we had, like a couple of spaghetti. I'll never forget. We ate this spaghetti lasagna that my mother-in-law made for like 1 week straight. I mean, I loved it. It was great, but we just didn't prepare much. You get meal trains from churches, etc. But like you said, people don't understand. They don't remember. They say, well, I didn't have that. They're fine. They'll figure it out. And that's an important thing to talk about and to change in our culture, is like, we need to all come around when, there's a birth, an accident, something like that. Like, that makes a huge difference in everybody's life.
Huge.
But I do love the fact that there was a need that you had, and that you literally created a business out of that need. So that's pretty cool when you solve your own problems for the future. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And it was the birth workers too, it was the doulas and midwives who were like, they're like, hey, our clients need this. Like, they were begging us to start it. And I initially was like, no, I don't want, you're talking about cooking soup and stew from scratch. Like, that's like the hardest thing to do. Like, there's no scale there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So after the first, and after everything that you kind of saw happening there, what did you do differently with the second child?
Well, the main thing we did differently was prep a lot of food. Well, instead of birth center, we decided to do it at home. And then this time around, we prepped like 60 meals based on these more ancestral principles of like warm, soft, easy to digest, nutrient dense bone broth, like stuff that you would eat out of a bowl. For baby number one, she was doing like cold smoothies and raw salads and like crunchy, dry stuff that was just like, she just got super constipated
Yeah.
and bloated and didn't recover well and just felt like blah. And for baby number two, we have a stand up, like one of those chest freezers in the garage, and we just filled that thing. Like we had a couple meal prep parties with friends. Her and I did a bunch of cooking, and we just stocked the freezer. And like looking back on it, I didn't realize how cool that was. But to go into the birth and to know that like there's a whole freezer full of food that's just ready to just you just thaw it out and heat it up, and it's all like premium, organic, pasture raised, cooked in bone broth, no oils, everything uses tallow. Like it was a great feeling to just have that. It's a feeling of like safety, security that especially Holly had. And I hear that from our customers too. They're like, their same thing is like, I just felt like I didn't have to worry about it,
Yeah.
So that was huge. And then, yeah, doing it at home was different, which was great because for baby number one, we were like, I look back on it and there's this thing that happens where if you go too long, like past 42 weeks or something like that, they say the midwives are like, I can't do it because of legal issues, right?
Yeah.
And so we were getting close to the 42 weeks on the first one. In retrospect, I wouldn't have rushed it, but we started feeling stressed because Holly was like, I don't want to go to the hospital. Like, that's not what I want to do. So we ended up doing a membrane sweep. And then that night, her water broke in the middle of the night. And it was like, the way that they described the birthing process was like, oh, you're going to have hours and hours and hours. It's going to start and it's going to slowly build up. No, it was like we were jogging like a strong jog, like starting in the middle of the night. And I called our doula, who was also a midwife too. Like she was just like a friend that was doing that. And we were going to the birth center. And she gets there and she like assesses Holly and she's like, and this is like 2:00 in the morning, 1:00 in the morning, something like that. She's like, if we leave now, I think we can make it. And I was like, you think?
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's not what
like,
you're hearing.
You think? Like, what are you talking about right now? I thought we had like 8 hours before this thing was, that's what everybody told us. And so we drove there to the birth center, which was like a 25 minute drive. And she's in the back on her hands and knees, like in strong pressure waves, strong labor. That was like the worst part of our experience. Like the birth was great. So because of the membrane sweep, we think he came posterior. So that was like, there was a lot more pain for her and she still did it. She still did posterior baby, no transfer, nothing. She just handled it.
That's awesome.
But we look back on it and we're like, we shouldn't have rushed, we shouldn't have rushed. I think if she didn't do the membrane sweep, I think it would have been different. Yeah. So for baby number two, we're like, we're doing it at home. I'm not driving anywhere. Like that was the worst part of it. And then we prepped a lot of food and, our family was way more open to it. And yeah, I think I was obviously more ready because like, I've done this before. I'm like,
yeah, I'm a pro now. I got it. Got under my belt.
Yeah, I feel a little more confident at my first rodeo.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense of the comfort of having that food there. And also like when your body is most depleted of nutrition, it's great to have, the food supply that, ancestral, organic, everything that you need already set and ready to go. You don't have to worry about it. That makes a big difference.
Yep.
What other ways outside of meal prepping did you help with postpartum this time around that maybe the previous time you didn't do as much?
Yeah, I think I took it a bit more seriously. Like I really tried to be like, I saw what happened before and I still was doing my own homework about like the postpartum time and, the first 40 days and that stuff. And I really was just my main goal was like her comfort and her recovery. And so I came into it with the first one that was not on my mind. The second one, I was like, okay, the better she recovers and the better she feels, the better all of our lives are going to be.
Yeah.
So it was really like, I swallowed my own ego about all the stuff, right? Any of the conflict that you have in relationship and all that stuff. It's like, it all just goes away. And I'm just there to be, I call them like the concierge at a nice hotel. Like, what do you need? I'll do it for you.
Yep.
Like you're not feeling the food. I mean, we had all this food, but sometimes she just wanted something specific. And I was like, I'll go get it. Sure.
Yep.
And then we also had our other, our son I was on duty with a lot more. And but even having the food already done made that way easier. Yeah, I think I would just approached it with a different mentality of like, I'm the guy, my job is to make sure her recovery goes well.
Yeah. You're protecting her during that time and helping
Yeah.
her get to it so she can, rejoin the world the way she was before, basically.
Yep.
And, I wish I had known that. Definitely the first time, the whole ego thing is letting go of your ego. And, I get offended by all these things all the time and be upset. Be like, why? I'm trying to help her out. What's going on? And
Yeah.
once you let that go, and it also makes that stop happening. Once you let go of your ego, normally don't run into a lot of issues anymore. And once you're
Yeah.
in the place of like, what do you need? I'll take care of it. Don't worry. Don't be worried about me doing this. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to get in there. It makes a big difference. And it makes a big difference for recovery, especially the last with Thomas. Like, I wouldn't let her get out of bed for weeks.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. She had to, we researched it and found out that rest is so important. And there's such an urge to get back and clean the house and do all these things. But just got to do whatever you can to support her while she's going through that. So that's a huge thing. Why do you think in society we overlook that so much as far as postpartum care, newborn phase, as a community or even as partners?
Certainly it's wisdom that just hasn't been passed down. When we started going to the hospitals, it's sort of like it took the power away from the family, and that knowledge being passed down probably just gets lost, after one or two generations. Like,
Yeah.
like if you're not talking about it, it's just not there. And I think as a society we just kind of got complacent and didn't talk about this stuff, and we're trying to do things the easy way, and it just didn't make it to the forefront. And there's this, there's like a cultural thing too. If you listen to, and I think it's changed a bit now, but like certainly for a long time it was like bounce back. They're praising women for bouncing back faster, and like those women are getting all this like airtime, they're getting all this coverage, they're getting all this attention. And so then you get that idea in your head that that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of it. Women working too, like the fact that, back in the day, women didn't really have jobs, right? I mean, they already have a job. It was really hard to take care of a house and children, right?
Yeah.
So much to do.
Oh yeah.
It's a full-time job, no doubt. And so for them to start working and like kind of their self-worth or their value is kind of can be tied to that. I know a lot of women are like that. It's a struggle, right? Because you want to get back. You want to get back to your routine, get back
Yeah.
to your stuff instead of just like resting. So that's probably another reason why. I don't know. I can probably make up a bunch of things.
Yeah. It's definitely true. And the social media, I think, has made it a lot worse when you're like,
Yeah.
look, I've already lost my baby weight in a month, and I'm back to running. This is me running the day after I had my third child or something like
It's like,
that. And it's
yeah.
like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're hurting
Yeah.
your body. You're not supposed to be doing that.
Right.
And also, I think there's a lot of husbands that don't realize this either. And they're maybe even pushing them like, all right, you've been in
Sure.
bed for a week now. It's time to get back up. I need you to make dinner.
So
And, that's just not very helpful.
I for sure that what you just said is 100% there, because I remember my perspective of like when Holly and I first met, and she was like this wedding planner. She built her own wedding planning business. I was doing like accounting work, and I was just like a cog in the machine, and she's got this whole business that she's doing. I'm like, oh man, I can like she'll be the breadwinner, or I remember having that perspective of like she's going to be the leader. And even in our relationship, it was like I was not sitting in the masculine role. I was sitting in more of the feminine role. And imagine this, she was a wedding planner. Okay. Imagine somebody having like, they're spending like $500,000 on their wedding. I've seen her do weddings like this. And everybody looks at her. They're like, what do you want me to do? And she's just like, she's the captain of this ship.
Yeah.
Right.
Titan of industry.
Yeah. And that was coming into our relationship. But that was also like, we were both not happy in that. Like if I'm not sitting in the, a masculine, presence. And so I can tell how that like dual income and that whole thing of like, let's get you back because we got bills to pay. And even that mentality is definitely out there a lot more than it was before, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And, that is something that you have to struggle against, of even from the woman's perspective of like, I've got all these things I got to do. And, if I have a job, I got to get back. And, you spend that entire time that you have off stressing about that and, doing a little bit of work here and there, getting up back, it's just going to prolong the healing process anyways.
Yeah.
Like you're just going to do more damage and take so much longer to get back to where you were, hormonally and even physically. So I think it's super important, even if you are of the mindset of, I want my wife to get back to work and I want my wife to, get back to cooking and cleaning or whatever. Even if you are that person, to get there, you need her to rest. You need her to heal. Like you need her body to get back to normal. That is not going to happen if you jump the gun too early.
100%. The first 40 days can dictate what happens over the next 10 years.
Yep.
Basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it can also really affect your relationship too. I mean, that's a huge part of it as well. If they are going through something and they're struggling and they don't see you helping and they don't see you being a leader, that's not something they're going to forget in a year or two. That's something that's going to stick around for a long time.
Yep.
From my experience with women, they don't, you're not going to forget something like that. That's something that's going to stick with you and it's going to have a hard time getting over. And I think that's why you hear a lot of times where you're like, man, they just had a baby and they're separating after a year. Like, I think that's a huge part in play there, sometimes at least.
100%.
So tell me a little bit more about your business and how that's going, where it started and where you are now.
Yeah. So it started, like I've told you about our story with food and like how it personally affected us. And then we did all the prep for baby number 2 and went through that experience. We're like, wow, that was great. And then Holly, she loves to cook and she loves to help people. So she just did it for a few of her friends as like a gift. Like, hey, I'm not going to get you, it was like their second babies too. She's like, I'm not going to get you diapers or gifts. Like, let me stock your freezer for you. So she gave that as gifts to a couple of her friends. And they were like, that was the greatest thing anyone's ever done for us. Thank you. And she was talking to a couple doulas and like our midwife that we were friends with them too. We were friends with some birth workers in that community. And that's when they were like, you need to do this, try this as a business. And so she made a menu, just a PDF with like it's pretty much the same items that we have now. The menu has not changed much in the last 3.5 years. And some prices on it, no pictures, no nothing. And then these doulas posted it on their Instagram. It was 2 of them, I think. And there was a Venmo link at the bottom. And it was like, Venmo here with your order. And strangers just started sending us money. And we're like, okay, so there's something here, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, like one of my old mentors was like, whatever ideas you think you have, they're not a good idea until somebody gives you money. Right? So we had people that were like sending us money to make food for them. And so we got to cooking in our house, which was, wow. It wasn't super hard in the beginning, but like we did that for a year and a couple of months. And, it was just a word of mouth thing. And it just grew and grew and grew. And we had these 2, they were like 5-gallon stock pots or something on our tiny little stuff. Like the pots were so big and the microwave is right there. And so like you could like barely stir the soup because of how tiny our like, how big these pots were.
Yeah.
And so we'd cook these huge batches of soup and stew and making bone broth and lactation cookies and just fill up our freezer. And then it got to this point where like we started to bottleneck where we get an order and we don't have any room to cook to put it in the freezer. So we got another freezer. And so now we have 2 freezers and we're also cooking all of our own food at home too, right? So then we fill up that freezer and then we're like, okay, we're also delivering the food. We're waiting for people to come pick it up. We eventually started using Uber to like, okay, hey, we're going to send you your food. It's going to get in an Uber, put it in the freezer. You pay for the Uber. Yeah. And, so we started doing that, but that takes a long time because you can't order another Uber until the first one's done, right?
Yeah.
And so then we sniped our Uber driver one day. We're like, hey, do you want to just do our deliveries for us? Come by once or twice a week. We'll load up your car with all the boxes and you go drive around Orange County and deliver them. Because I had been doing that a bunch too. Like I was, I had my day job, my full-time job, and I'm doing this at night and doing deliveries and stuff. It was a lot.
Yeah. And you had 1 or 2 kids at this point?
We had 2 kids at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it was probably one of the most challenging times in my life. Not just, you talk about being in a relationship, also running a business together.
Yeah.
And And that was very hard. And in this, we were talking about masculine, feminine. We had this this sort of upheaval of, she was sitting in the masculine role, and she, she wants me to be part of this. And I was like, I was in a men's group at the time, and I was talking about our relationship and stuff. And they're like, dude, you need to step up and be the masculine leader here. And so that was a very difficult time in our relationship to have that like almost switch of her to be like, all right, like let me take the lead here. Like I can do this. That was really hard. And then just like imagine, it's summertime, you don't have air conditioning, and you've got these giant pots of very hot food and your oven running all day basically. Above your, like our bedroom was above the kitchen. And so it was like I was living in a sauna.
Sounds miserable.
Oh, dude. And my hands, I think, aged like 5 years from all the dishes. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't believe how many dishes I was doing. And then we finally got into a kitchen that was really close to our house, which was great. And that was like the pressure release valve was like, shh, okay, get it out of our house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met some really great people. They helped us with learning frozen shipping. So we went from this like local delivery business, like doing pickups and local deliveries, to we cut it off one day and it was like, you order and we're going to give it to FedEx and it's going to come the next day.
Yeah.
And we also at the same time, like the guy I met, he was the guy who built the whole logistics operation for ButcherBox.
Oh, wow.
Which they ship frozen meat, right, nationwide. And he's like, you could ship this. And we're like, and we had people in like Texas ask us for food. They found our website. And we had people all over the country asking if we shipped. And we were like, it's going to be so much money though to ship that.
Yeah.
And I remember one woman was like, it was going to be $100 more for shipping. And she's like, I'll pay it.
Jeez.
And we're like, oh, okay. So that's interesting.
Ding, ding, ding.
We shipped this box and it was our first one that we shipped and it failed. It didn't make it there in time. It all thawed. And we were like, well, that was a huge waste of money. We had to refund all of her money. And it didn't make it. And so we kind of figured that out. I had that guy was helping me out. He's like a buddy of mine now. And we just cut it off. And it was like, if you want to order anywhere throughout the country, we have this incredible rates with FedEx. Like amazing. If you send a box, like our biggest box from our house to like the East Coast, and you pay like regular person rates, it's going to be like $300 or something like that.
Wow.
But we get it to like our biggest box, it's $95. That'll get anywhere on the East Coast.
Wow.
And we could get like our medium-sized boxes for like $40 to the East Coast. So we just cut it off. And it was like, if you order and you're in this local area, it's free shipping. But if you want us to put it on a plane for you and we get these great rates, like you're going to pay for it. And that's what we started doing. And that's what we still do today. And yeah, it's just grown and grown. And we're at this place now where it's really cool. We donate a lot of food. Like I've got some cool organizations like Changing Women's Initiative and a few others that like we get to donate food to them every month. And yeah, we're in another kitchen now that's like, we're scaling it up too. We just now building pallets of food as opposed to just cooking week for week. Like we have pallets of food that's going to be now in a frozen warehouse that will then be shipped instead of us packing all the boxes. Yeah, I mean, that's how it started and where it's gone. And I think one of the biggest things is like our commitment to quality and the ingredients is like been like the chicken we get is from Regenerative Farm in Texas. Awesome. Like I've been to the farm. Yeah. I've seen the chickens living outside and how they move these giant outdoor coops down the field with tractors. And the beef we use is all regenerative from Force of Nature. I've got regenerative farms in Missouri and another one that does our rice. And we get cooking everything in bone broth. And it's been a fun journey to piece all these things together and bring this like machine up as it's going.
Yeah, that's a lot of sourcing and figuring out logistics and stuff. That's impressive.
Yeah, and that's where I say I've been having these really cool conversations with these people who are doing amazing things for the land. Like that's been a really fun thing for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. And so how long has this been? 4 or 5 years that you've grown this?
3.5.
3.5. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a lot. How many meals a day? How many meals a month do you guys ship out typically?
I would say, we do about 100 orders a week.
Wow.
Is like, so imagine packing 100 boxes and our average is like 9 units, 9 SKUs per box, like 900 meals a week, right around there that's going out. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
It's a far cry from, like the little pots we started with, and people coming to our house and picking up. Now I got 2 FedEx trucks showing up once a week, and we're loading all these boxes, and half of our boxes are getting on a plane. It's pretty wild. That's pretty wild.
How's it changed your family dynamic having, business, everybody's working together? Are the kids part of it at all, or how does that look like, or being home more?
Yeah, it's been such a blessing, man. I can't even say, it was very much a passion of both me and Holly, the food and birth too. Cause we always talked about like, okay, like if you want to try to change the world, birth, right? Like if you can think about the beginning of life, like you should probably start there. And we get to marry the food thing with it. Is like super cool. And, so my full-time job now is doing this, which is like super rewarding. And I get to read all the, the testimonials and all the stuff and sending out all this free food to people. It's just like super rewarding.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's, the work life, it kind of goes up and down, we've had like this year was like wild, absolutely wild in terms of like what happened in our business. I mean, I can go into it more if you want to talk about it, but basically a $600 million company threatened to sue us over our old name. We used to be called Mama Meals. I don't know if you might have known that, but
I did hear a little bit about this, but yeah, that's a pretty interesting story. So go ahead and share.
Oh, sure. So here, I'll tell you the business struggle. So we grew it and, for 3 years, and we submitted for trademark on the name Mama Meals, and the trademark office kicked it back, and they're like, possible confusion with this other company. I don't even want to say their name.
Yeah, you don't have to.
They've been getting a lot of bad press lately, though. I just saw some people are sending me articles about them now. It's pretty funny. Anyway, they said possible confusion with this company. And so we talked to a lawyer, and they were like, well, you could still kind of sneak in behind them. And that doesn't mean they won't sue you, though. And it's still not guaranteed. Even if we try to pursue this, it's basically the lawyers talk to each other.
Yeah.
And all the money disappears from your pocket. It's sort of how it works.
Yeah, they all know each other. It's kind of a gambit they run.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, you can go reach out to this company and ask for like a consent agreement. And I remember like we were talking like, oh, the people at the top are collaborating. They're not competing, right? They're collaborating. Yeah. And so I was like, all right, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna reach out. I'm not gonna do this sneak behind their back and possibly get sued and all of that. So I reached out a couple times actually. Someone finally got back to me. And I like landed in their general counsel's inbox. And I was like, oh yeah, this is a big company. They have a general counsel. Okay. Yeah. I'm working out of my house right now. Like
David and Goliath.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And he's like, I'm going to talk to our people and I'll get back to you. And then the next day I get a cease and desist saying you have 60 days to change the name, stop using blah, 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 or we're going to come after you. And it was like, that was it. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't get to talk to cause I said, let me talk to somebody, one of your executives. Like, maybe you guys want to acquire us or something. Like we have this really cool postpartum niche that we're going to stay in. You guys are doing this other thing. Like we're good, and it didn't turn out that way. So
that stinks.
Yeah. So we had to change the name, and that was just like a giant nightmare. It actually went really well, except for one little thing.
It's always something.
The DNS settings on your email, if you don't do this thing properly, all of your emails go to spam.
Oh my gosh.
So all of our emails internally, communications to customers, all started going to spam.
Jeez.
That was like a big piece of our revenue was emails too. It was like people sign up for email lists. We have the Mama's Monday newsletter and all that just evaporated. And we're still like working on that's very recent. So it's still the email thing has sort of been healed now, and we're now starting to send emails again.
Yeah.
But like, holy crap, that just turned off. Yeah, so that was an interesting experience that we'll get through it though.
Yeah. It sounds super stressful. Yeah, exactly.
All right, one more quick story on that. So the same day we got a cease and desist for the name, we're at a shared kitchen. So this company, we were renting this kitchen in Costa Mesa, and then they bought a new building in Anaheim. And it's way bigger and way more set up for what we're doing. And they were like, do you want a spot there? We're like, yeah. So we moved. We told the health department to switch it. They're like, oh, you can't switch it. You have to reapply. I'm like, okay, fine. We reapplied. All of a sudden they're asking for another permit that we didn't need before. They said some new laws passed and it was going to be blah, blah, blah. And we had just had another baby.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, on their website, it was like, it said we didn't need this permit. So I responded to them. They never responded back to me. And then I paid the invoice, which I guess was for our old location. And 9 months later, the same day that we got the other cease and desist, the health department comes in and they said, our permit isn't active for this location. So they gave me another cease and desist.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like, on the thing that they gave me, Thomas, it's still like kind of ticks me off. It said we could charge you $25 fine, or we can imprison you for 6 months.
Oh my God.
That was the scale at which they were their threats. And so the same day I got 2 cease and desists, and it was so. I think back on it now, and I can kind of laugh through it, but it was tough in the moment.
Yeah.
And so we figured out some kind of workarounds for that, but nothing to do with food safety. It was
Yeah.
clerical issue in which they said we had to shut down our business, but we kind of found a workaround pretty quickly. Yeah.
You got to have some grit and determination when running your own business, because you're going to get curveballs left and right, and you just got to plow right through them. So
100%.
yeah. So what are some of your typical orders look like? Like what are the meals? Like what are your most popular meals? What do they look like?
Sure. Our most popular every single month is the creamy chicken congee. Congee is a rice porridge. It's regenerative jasmine rice, simmered in bone broth, but it's very liquidy, like it's very soupy. You saute some onions and butter and garlic and shredded regenerative chicken thighs. And then also we puree some regenerative chicken liver and then mix it in at the end when the soup's pretty much done. So it cooks instantly. But then you get like, it's basically like chicken liver in the dish. Because livers or organs are the most nutrient dense, gram for gram, pound for pound, it's the most nutrient dense food on the planet. Our ancestors all were very pro organ meat, especially in postpartum. And so that one, it's really good. You don't taste any of the organ meat. And then we have the primal chili, which is a really nice chili, hearty sausage stew, the lentil stew, berry date oatmeal with collagen. They're basically like these warm, soft, mushy, like soupy dishes. And we also have lactation cookies or brownies and pancakes too. Yeah, and everything's cooked and frozen. And then we ship it on dry ice, so it shows up to your door. So the best thing to do is have it like order it before the birth, so you have the food in the freezer. That's what we did.
Yeah, just get like a deep freezer and prep it and put it in there.
Yeah, that's the best thing. But you can order like you can fit a lot of food in your just regular freezer. You don't need like a stand-up one. But if you order a big package, like it's a lot of food. It's like 32 pounds of food.
Wow.
Is what you get. Yeah.
That goes a long way, I'm sure.
It goes a long way. And it's so dense too. Like you could take our stuff and add more broth to it and like make it into more servings, and it's still a huge amount of food. Yeah. Like I don't know if people, I'm trying to communicate that more to people, but like you can like almost double it, or you can cook some extra protein and mix it in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's so many ways you can extend the value that you get from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are the most common.
Not to shift gears here completely, but one thing you mentioned earlier, I was thinking about, you're talking about moving into more masculine role with your business. And it sounds like that happened in between your second and third child, if that's correct.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, how did that change, your preparation for that birth and the actual birth itself, and then postpartum? And then also, what do you think the masculine role is in birth?
Yeah, good question. And that definitely happened after our second, and it was because of the business.
Yeah.
And that's where I really needed to, it's what illuminated that for me. And so then I guess your question is sort of coming into the third birth, how that changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, this time around, I felt really, I was confident on the other two, but I almost just felt a different presence. Like I was there, I was the rock. At this point, I was really taking care of myself too. So I showed up in a way where, like if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to show up, as like the most powerful masculine that you can, right?
Yeah.
So that was very helpful. I was also like kind of getting vulnerable with other men too. Like I found a cool men's group that I was in where we would share like our struggles and what was going on. And I got like the feedback that I really needed from other men. And I think that's a big thing that's missing in our culture right now, is like just to have some brothers around you to like hear you and then either affirm you or like slap some sense into you.
Yeah. Yeah, you need that.
We all need it for sure. especially me, because like this business is a bunch of women too. So I work with a bunch of women. I've got my, the women, like it's very easy for me to not get my dose of masculine, and then I start to almost like falter as the leader.
Yeah.
So that was good. This time around too, I also felt more confident in just like before I was sort of insecure about money. And then this time around I just had more of like a spiritual like trust in the whole process. Like, look, we are going to be provided for.
Yeah.
Like there's no question about that anymore. And so it allowed me to take more time off and just have faith that that everything's going to be fine. And we had some great people around us and the business was running well. So it was like, I'm sure that helped, but maybe that had something to do with my faith. Right.
Yeah.
And so that was good. And I had a different perspective of like losing income versus time, like spending the time and not making money there. I think is way more like that will pay back dividends later in ways that like it's hard to even imagine.
Yeah.
So I kind of had that different perspective, and I was able to unplug from work more. Let's see. Yeah, I think I just showed up as more of like the guy that was like, I'm just gonna handle everything. I'm like, don't worry about a thing. I got it. What, dishes, dogs, kids. She did 40 days in bed basically. I mean, she got up a little bit, but it was like,
that's awesome.
Just rest. And I, again, the ego was gone, and my whole prerogative was like your recovery. And she said it now plenty of times, like this was her best postpartum yet, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I think just being more in the masculine role it just made everything better. It just made everything better.
For sure. No, that's awesome. And yeah, I totally agree with you. If you're in that, pursuit mode, and when I say pursuit mode, it's like, think about when you first start, dating your spouse, like whatever you need, I'll be there in a minute. I'll help you out. I'll set this up. I'll get you food. I'll buy you whatever it is. If you can continue that throughout your entire relationship, that's awesome. But especially during this part where they need to be pursued, they need to be comforted. They need to know everything's okay. Don't worry about anything. I've got it. I think that is great for many things, but also really great for your relationship, because that can be, a pretty tough time.
And, we talk about home birth here. Like if the more confident and comfortable she is leading into the birth, the more successful you're going to be at home birth. Right.
Absolutely.
Like if she's feeling like, oh, he's there and he's going to do anything for me. And you communicate that to her before the birth, and she knows that going into it, like all the stories and all the doubt just, and then she can just be with her body and do what she's, made to do. Right.
Yeah.
What she knows 100%. She can do.
Yeah. What she was designed to do.
Perfectly. There you go, right? Designed to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Eric, do you have any other last things you want to talk about, or just some ideas that you wanted to get across today that I didn't ask you about?
I'll say this time around for the third baby, I had on her due date, which is always, like very speculative, right? Yeah. I don't like that. I don't even like that word, the guest date, right?
Yeah.
I basically stopped working a week before that. And I had my checklist, and I had it every day. I would go through the checklist. I would make sure the house is ready, make sure all these things were done. I was just about like tying up any loose ends. I basically pretended like that was going to be the day. So the house was always immaculate. The kids were, the dogs were walked. The kids, everything was done by the time midday, afternoon's coming around. And in doing that, when the day actually came, man, it was just like everything was done. There was no drama. So I think prepping, having a checklist, having your like day of checklist, and just looking at that checklist every day, like a week before, and just like take the time off work if you can, like just unplug. That was like one of the best things I did this time around, I think.
Yeah.
And then just looking through the lens of like if I can use my money to buy more time, it's worth it. It's worth it, regardless of where I see our budget or our finances, is like that time is important. So just want to communicate that. Yeah.
Super important. And, people think if you run your own business, like you can take off time whenever you want. And, it's not stressful, but everybody I know that runs their business, they never take off time, because if they're not working, who is? So yeah, that is super important and great that you're able to do that. And prepping is like the number one thing, prepping in every way, prepping meals, prepping in conversations, prepping in, okay, what are we going to do if this happens? A, B, and C. Having that plan just creates so much comfort and ease and just makes it such a beautiful, comfortable experience compared to a stressed out running around like, what are we going to do?
100%.
And that helps everybody involved. So,
Yep.
well, where can everybody find your stuff? You have a Instagram, Facebook, website.
Yeah, you can get us. Our website is restorativeroots.com. Instagram is eat.restorativeroots. That's where you'll see Holly talking a lot. I like to share content from the kitchen in there since I still like I run the kitchen. So you'll see some behind the scenes there.
You're still the head chef.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't. You could call me the head chef, but like we have a really great team that was way better than I ever was. You know, people that kind of can get up to that. You know, we cook 160 gallons at a time now, as opposed to
Wow. Yeah.
5. So there's a whole nother level of stuff that happens now, and it's cool to see too. So you can see that on the Instagram, and you can find us through there. And I always tell like all the men out there too, if you want to reach me, if you want to talk or you need help, you're feeling like you need somebody to talk to, like I'm around. If you go through our website and hit the contact form and just be like, I heard Eric on the Happy Home Birth podcast, and I just wanted to chat with him. I'm always happy, talk to any of the brothers out there that think they need some help.
Yeah, that's a great resource and very rare to hear from somebody who's running their own business. Like, hey, I'll talk to you about stuff that's not going to make me any money. I want to help out. So,
I try.
That's great.
I try. I can't promise there's going to be a lot of that time, but I got a calendar link that you can probably jump on. Yeah.
One more thing. I remember you mentioning, I don't remember if it was when we talked beforehand, but you mentioned there's like a 40-day program that you have on your website, or 40-day.
Oh, yeah. There's I made a little cheat sheet. So after all my experiences, there's a book called The First 40 Days. It's really about like the woman and all that stuff. And I just, after all my experiences, I made a little cheat sheet PDF called The First 40 Days for Men. And it's just all of my pointers, all of my, the tricks and tips that I've learned and things that I would have done differently, just put into a little PDF. And it's just a free guide. You can go download it on our website, restorativeroots.com, and then you click resources. And there's a bunch of PDFs there for women and for like kind of prepping for family stuff too. But that one's just specifically for men.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's the one thing that's super lacking in the birth world is education for men. Normally we're seen as like, hey, you just, sit over there. If it's in the hospital, you wait outside of the room, like kind of feel very distant from the process. And, having education for men and knowledge just changes the game. So I think that's an awesome thing that you're doing. So
I wasn't sitting on the sideline. I caught the baby this time. Number 3, I caught it, it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I had a great talk with you, and hopefully we'll talk again soon sometime. But thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Thomas.
Okay, did we love hearing from the dads, or did we love hearing from the dads? As we head into this week's episode roundup, here are a few points that stood out to me when I listened in. Number 1, preparation can make or break your postpartum experience. Eric and Holly's shift from a stressful first postpartum to a deeply supported experience for their second and third children shows how meal prep and intentional planning can deeply impact recovery and bonding. Next, isn't the story behind Restorative Roots so inspiring? A personal need was transformed into something that was nationally impactful. What started as preparing meals for themselves grew into Restorative Roots, a regenerative postpartum meal company that's now shipping 900 meals weekly and offering resources to educate and empower other families. And finally, and I believe most importantly, the partner's role matters. Dads, you truly can become the hero of the postpartum experience and your family, and you can take the lead on making this happen for your wife. Eric highlighted the importance of the masculine role in birth and postpartum, and he shared about presence, support, and setting aside his own ego to truly care for his wife and family. This is your time to shine, fathers. If this becomes important to you, it will make your wife feel so loved and cherished. If you can help her achieve a restful, healing postpartum, you are investing in your family for weeks, months, and years to come. It blows my mind just how much you can steer the ship towards deep connection. What a gift. Okay, my friends, should we do that more often? Should Thomas hop on the mic and interview more fathers? Let me know. And don't forget to send me your birth photos and videos by clicking the link in the show notes. And that's all I've got for you for today. I will see you back here next week. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Are you looking to extend the home birth support, encouragement, and education? Join us in our Facebook group, Happy Homebirth Podcast Community, and check us out on Instagram at Happy Homebirth Podcast.